Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Robert Adams, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Air Force is Squadron Leader Gauri Singh. We warmly welcome the family of Flight Sergeant Dennis Sidney Nest, whose story will be told shortly. This evening, we warmly welcome one recruit training unit from the Royal Australian Air Force Base in Wagga Wagga, New South Wales, and Air Commodore Mark Lax, retired, representing the Air Force Association. As always, we welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Returned and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Clubs Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the pool of reflection by family, visitors to the memorial, and students on behalf of the Essington School Senior Campus from Casuarina in the Northern Territory. If you are able, I now invite you to please stand and join in singing the national anthem.
Australians, oh, let us rejoice, for we are one and free. We've golden soil and wealth for toil. Our home is got by sea. Our land abounds in nature's gifts of beauty, rich and rare. In history's page, let every stage advance Australia fair. In joyful strains, then let us sing, advance Australia fair.
The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us during war and on operations over more than a century. But first we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the pool of reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Flight Sergeant Dennis Sidney Nest. Dennis Nest was born in Coolum, New South Wales, on the 30th of December 1922. Known affectionately as Denny, he was one of 4 children born to Sidney Herbert Nest and his wife Rose. The Nest family remained in Coolum throughout Denny's childhood. He attended the Coolum Public School, completing his intermediate examination in 1937 with passes in maths, English, art, woodwork, and technical drawing. An active sportsman, Denny played football, tennis, billiards, and cricket in Coolum during and after his schooling. In August 1939, he was employed as a junior bank clerk in the town. Denny initially attempted to enlist as a wireless telegraphy operator in the Royal Australian Air Force in January 1941, but was rejected. He enlisted in the RAF again on the 11th of October 1941 at the number 2 Recruitment Centre in Sydney, stating his desire to serve as a wireless operator. His enlistment accepted, Denny was mustered as aircrew and sent to number 2 Initial Training School at Bradfield Park to begin his training. He was remustered as a gunner in early December, having completed his initial gunner course. Training for aircrew was intense and lengthy. Then he continued his training over the next 10 months, moving between training schools in Australia. He completed his courses on the 24th of September 1942 and was appointed to the rank of temporary sergeant with the mustering of wireless operator/air gunner. Sergeant Dennis Nest departed Sydney on the 17th of October 1942, bound for the United Kingdom and the Royal Air Force. He arrived in England in mid-December and spent the winter continuing his operator training. Having passed the Coastal Operators course in February 1943, he was promoted to Flight Sergeant on the 24th of March 1943. Dennis left the United Kingdom in late May 1943, joining the RAF's Middle East Command. In August, he was allocated number 454 Squadron, at that stage based out of El Amaria airfield in Egypt. 454 Squadron, equipped with Martin Baltimores, operated as a maritime patrol squadron over the Mediterranean. They targeted enemy submarines and merchant shipping, undertook long-range reconnaissance missions, and occasionally participated in airstrikes against land targets in enemy-occupied Crete, southern Greece, and the Greek islands. On the 10th of November, Dennis's aircraft took off from Burqa 3 airfield near Benghazi in Libya for a photo recce of the Greek islands with an all-Australian crew. Also on board the Baltimore 4 FA669 were Flight Sergeant John May, one of Denny's best friends, and Flight Sergeants John Joyner and Joseph Gelveri. While flying over Greek islands northwest of Rhodes, the crew sighted an invasion fleet of 14 enemy landing craft escorted by 7 aircraft. Denny's aircraft engaged the enemy. At some stage during the flying battle, the Baltimore 4 FA669 was shot down by the enemy aircraft. All 4 members of the crew were declared missing in air operations and subsequently reported as presumed dead. Dennis Nest was 20 years old. Given the place of the battle, none of the crew's remains were recovered following their deaths. Denny is commemorative on the Alamein Memorial in El Alamein War Cemetery. Here are recorded the names of more than 3,000 airmen of the Commonwealth who died fighting in the Middle East and Africa, and who have no known grave. His name is listed on the roll of honor on my left among almost 40,000 Australians who died while serving in the Second World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Flight Sergeant Dennis Sidney Nest, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Poziere or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.